All right, what's up, everyone? This is the Live Before Lock show. Chris is off, preparing for his NFL show tomorrow. So it's going to be myself, per usual, on Wednesdays, and then EMAC is back with me, and we'll be doing the night shift after this. So a lot of us too, EMAC. How are you doing today? What do you think of this slate?
I think this is an interesting slate. I think there are some choices for pitching. As always, I was doing the old pull the hair out, what's left of it anyway, trying to figure out who's going after some of these openers. I think it's, God dang it. Now I want to say for Chicago White Sox, I think is it Santiago? And then it's, let me go look at my list. For Tampa Bay,
Chirinos.
it's not. Chirinos, thank you. I had Yarborough stuck in my mind, and I know it's not him. But we've got Chirinos is going against the Yankees. I don't know if we want to do that. We've got just a mess here with regards to the Beebs going against a somewhat lefty lineup. Are they scary lefties? We'll get into that in a second. And there's a very healthy mid-tier of pitching tonight. But which ones look a little better than the others? I think Haney has become chalk. I think Matt Boyd and Jake Odorizzi are an intriguing pair in the same game up there in your neck of the woods. When you walked out to get the mail, was that the only time you left the house today? And what did the temperature feel?
The temperature this morning was really cool. It was, I live about 20 minutes away from the stadium, but it was definitely not fun for baseball. Now it's better. It's kind of nice actually. It's like just above 60, but once the sun goes down, I don't know if there's any breeze at Target Field, but it is definitely going to be advantageous to pitching. So Odorizzi is a guy that I like, not just because of the weather. I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. A bunch of righties at the bottom of this Tigers order. And I just think Odorizzi is a much better pitcher than people give him credit for. So he's the guy I like in that game. Are you on Boyd?
I am on Boyd. I've decided more or less I'm kind of going to forego Jake DeGrom this evening. I'm going to live in that mid-tier. And for me, it's probably going to be a mixture of Haney, Odorizzi, Boyd, and then Bieber. Now, Boyd and Bieber, of course, are not without risk there. So what was when I said Boyd and you needed the clarification, what's the first of and how many things are there about him that kind of turn you off?
The price isn't great. Now, we have to remember that, like you said the other day, that we found value already. The Red Sox have a pretty big total. There's a bunch of value there. There's a value on the Cubs, I think, in that middle of the order with Hap, especially. And then like this Twins team also has a ton of value. So not that you play Boyd with Twins, but like if you're MMEing, it's going to be pretty easy to fit in whichever pitchers you want. So I like the price turned me off at first. I just don't love Boyd as a pitcher. He gives up a lot of hard contact. I think he was incredibly lucky earlier in the season. He's regressed a little bit. But I just think too many people are going to be on him for actually how good of a play he is.
Okay, and that's fair. Now, I haven't gone through and done looking at our percentages, and I knew I was going to be on up until air. So I was making a limited player pool to kind of get it to do what I wanted, because I know I'm going to kind of run this more on automation than anything else. So that will be interesting. I was playing around with the Fantasy Cruncher Rewind as I was watching the afternoon show. I had a little break between meetings and was goofing around. So I was watching what Adam and Josh were doing. And I was following along, and I was using the projections and settings that I had used to see if I was running 150, what would I get? And they were looking at, of course, the mini-max yesterday. And I think the winning lineup was somewhere around 198. And they were crunching their player pools. And what we were doing, those of us following along at home, we were trying different things like four-man stacks. They were trying to look at no stacks, locking in certain pitchers, etc., and trying to see what you would get. And the interesting thing with Josh's projections was he found that his work better as stacks. So when he was running them with no stacking rules, he was not getting nearly as high as when he was choosing some stacking rules. And then the interesting thing I found was I was not getting barely any, if any at all, of the Brewers. And of course, the Brewers were the key to everything yesterday. And I believe you got a shout out for picking your home run of the day being one Mr. Ryan Braun, and that was a double dog. So I had him in of 150 lineups. I kept getting him in 3 of mine. So I think using the rewind is a very helpful tool. And if you go back and just look at today's show, they do a great job of doing a screen share and showing what they're doing with the different settings. And they're trying to solve for a problem, and they're talking about different stuff. And Adam was trying things his way, etc. I think that's something that's very valuable. And I'm a little disappointed I didn't discover that until more recently. Now, Rewind is a free thing on Fantasy Cruncher, which is nice. But if you have the premium version or you're coming along with the add-on here available at Awesemo, you can have saved your projection, and then you can utilize your projections. You can always load them again, but it's more fun when it saves your settings and projections, I've found. So that's something I think I want to use a little bit more, especially with baseball winding down. Now we can spend some quality time with our football teams and try to figure out how to work the different angles there.
Yeah, and I've actually the last few days and the last few weeks more so, I've been using Fantasy Cruncher to test out my projections for NHL, and that's also a really good thing to do. If you're trying to build projections, go into Fantasy Cruncher and just try it out. If you have the CSVs from the slates from prior season, it's just a really fun, helpful thing to do. You can see how they're doing. You can find leaks in your projections, or you can just see what, just play around with the settings. See, maybe you're not maximizing your full potential as far as the types of stacks you're running. So it's just Fantasy Cruncher Rewind it's amazing that it's free. I don't know why it should be, but take advantage of it while it is, because that's a really, really good product.
Yeah, and just to kind of finish the thought there, since it turned in a little bit of an infomercial, but we're friends with Dave over there at Fantasy Cruncher, and of course he's close with Awesemo and such. And hey, there's only 2 sites now that offer the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, and Dave just won't do that for anybody. So it's been kind of fun looking at the stuff here. So what I found is, as I've looked at it, and you're like, oh yeah, stacks always win. Well, it's interesting. A lot of this is going to be based on 1, your projections, 2, the settings you have, and 3, even if I was trying to force it at the end to pick up Milwaukee, and I couldn't do it because it didn't have it with how I had set up my projections and what I was attempting to do. Adam was coming at it from a different angle, and he said on DraftKings in particular, now FanDuel, the scoring is so damn synergy laden with the bump up to RBI and runs as compared to DraftKings. You kind of have to stack there. Adam's been coming at this from a different angle, and he said he had been arguing with one friend who believed him and one friend who was, or I don't know, believed him, one friend who was on his side that, hey, you probably don't necessarily have to stack all the time on DraftKings, and the other one was like, no, you always stack. Well, we just say, oh gosh, these stacks won. But he was going in and trying to prove out that if you get the most optimal home run hitters, then you have just as good of a shot of winning and on some of the slates. And you'll also have a unique lineup because so many people have gone the stacking route. So he was talking about how he identified those types of players, and he was throwing out a few. Braun was one of his key guys yesterday as well. But he was looking at his, and by doing it with his method and his player pool, he was able to come close to what very similar in projected scores with what Josh had been doing, with actual scores, just using their settings from what they had done previously. So it's not what you think you see at the top and what is really happening is not always going to be the same thing. Because yesterday it turned out that the best option would have been Turnbull and Scherzer or
Cole Stewart.
Stewart that came in a little bit later, but more people had Erlin, so it looked like that Erlin was the right call. Well, as Adam pointed out, the two other guys were cheaper and less owned and outscored Erlin, but not as many people played them. So you had to go sort through. I think like one in the top 10 or 20 didn't have the Scherzer Erlin Braun combination. So it's kind of interesting to see how that works. So just throwing it out there that it's not all, oh, these guys stack and, oh, the one day I did 150, I just had bad luck. No. There's a whole new world of data to dive through right there, which is just what we want to talk about. But we have shows all day at Osmo.com talking about that sort of stuff, which I think is incredibly invaluable. And you can just, put it in earbuds at work and just kind of have it playing in the background like a radio, and you'll pick up a bunch of tips. So just wanted to get that out there because I found that more valuable and what I want to do looking at football, what I want to do with basketball, and how I'm considering dabbling in hockey, Jake. So I know you're going to be doing some of these shows as well.
Yeah, that's what I love to hear. I'm obviously I've talked about it since like July that I'm just really pumped for hockey, using Fantasy Cruncher for that. It does sound like an infomercial, but that's what we all use. That's what a lot of the best players use. And so I just really believe in the product. I know the guys up top, Tom and Alex, really believe in it. So use the Rewind. Even if you don't have Fantasy Cruncher, just use the Rewind. It's a really, really cool tool, and it will help you get better just going back and looking at stuff and seeing what mistakes you made. And I know our friend Manny, he does a really good job of showing people kind of how to do that. So if you watch his stream, I know we have a lot of the same viewers kind of. So go watch those too.
Yep. Manny is absolutely super duper sharp. And hey, let's do another cross promotion here. DFS Education, the little thing that I was doing last weekend or 2 weekends ago out there in Vegas. Manny was one of the speakers. He did a whole thing on how to use Cruncher for football and went into everything. It was fantastic. And we even had, because it was in Vegas, we had Dave from Fantasy Cruncher was there with his team as well. So it was definitely a good time. Osmos provided a video for that. We've got a Tommy G video for that. It's site agnostic, meaning we'll put up anybody's banner there. And it's kind of a place where we're trying to take the best of all of the different content and make it an opportunity for the other sites to say, hey, look, we do this and we do this. And if you like what you see with this, you're getting a sampling of all their good stuff. You can then find more on each of their sites. So it's kind of something that everybody's gotten behind. And we're planning for January. I'm going to tell it just between us. Come a little closer. We're planning on January. We're going to go down to Florida, looking at Tampa, St. Pete area at the end of January. So significant others may like that. You get to go down. Honey, look, I got us tickets for, it's kind of cold here. I got us tickets to go down to Tampa Bay in January. There you go. Now all of a sudden you're there. Oh, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to go shopping or have a spa day? And then you're off and running. I'm telling you, happy wife, happy life. You guys need to learn this. So, all right, back to the fun stuff. Excellent question in chat. Do you have your crunches ready to run here as I do another upload with the projection?
Are you talking to me, or did you say someone else?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm going to ask you the question if you're ready to run one.
Yeah, so we can show mine that I'm running.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, let me.
They were curious about if you could stack Sale and Marquez on DK, and what would, as that happened, would anything shake out interestingly from the hitter's perspective? Because those guys are on a little bit more of the expensive end here.
We can try that. You want to stack Sale and or you want to go Sale Marquez?
Lock in Sale Marquez and see what pops for the stacks here. And for those of you wondering what I'm doing, I'm getting ready to, we just got San Diego. So I think we do in fact have all of the lineups in. So I'm going to run the FanVice projections here, which of course are available on Osmo.com. And those will be updated probably in about 2 minutes as I work on that. But
all right, let's see.
You guys don't always get to see us doing this fun stuff because Jake and I are covering for a variety of people this afternoon. So.
Oh, yeah. Josh's internet malfunction, so just perfect timing. Seems like that stuff always happens at the worst possible time. All right, so I'm gonna lock in. So I did lock in Sale and Marquez. Let me share my screen here. Is that what you want to do, Emac? Just show people.
Yeah, that perfect. Perfect. Right. Yeah, show them just kind of what's popping, because we've got 40 minutes till lock.
For sure.
People are starting to make their lineups. They've seen multiple shows all day, so there's all sorts of stuff going on. Let's give them a taste of what they can see earlier in the day from a variety of different people on our site here.
All right. So let me move our faces out of the way. Oh, there we go. Are you MMAing tonight, EMAC?
I am. I will be running about 80 lineups once I get these projections updated.
Good stuff. Good stuff. 80 lineups? So what tournaments are you going in?
So I am in... Oh, no. I'm just in the... Yeah, just which ones to avoid. I've already maxed out my tiers, and I'm in the quarter contest here because I didn't know how much bandwidth I would have here as we go up to lock. So I've got about $40 riding on this.
Okay.
I'm in the smaller stuff, so we won't overlap tonight.
All right, so this is what we got with Sale and Marquez. It is incredibly doable. We're having no trouble getting to 150 here. You can see it's going pretty quick. Have not gotten an error message yet. The problem is you're going to be stuck with some not great stacks. I mean, the Twins are fine, but the weather is concerning. I wonder if you could... So you can get Cub stacks in there. That is kind of crazy. They got a near 5 run total. Is that right still?
Yeah, now what Cubs is it?
Let me share my screen with you so you can see this in real time. Yeah.
So it looks like it's giving you some of the secondary guide. Or what I deem the second. I haven't the full lineup. And for those of you at home, if you go refresh on Osimo, you should see the new projections. If you're playing along, that would be the FanDuel projections, which are our player rankings, not the ownership rankings.
All right, can you see my screen now?
On
Skype?
No, I'm not going to let me, I don't think. So I can see it on the YouTube, though.
Oh, a delay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So I like number 11 of Cubs, who's Zach Jameson. He's always in here. Why not Stale and Bieber instead of Marquez? I mean, I don't know about you, EMAC, but I love Marquez way more than Bieber tonight. And it's not really the same price range. I mean, they're $1,300 apart. So I just wanted to see someone mention it in chat. I think we were both curious to see if we could do this.
Yes.
And you can. It's a lot of value, guys, but not too difficult. I mean, if my crunch is going to spit out 150 lineups pretty quickly, then it's not going to be too tough. Any other teams you want to check out with this duo?
The ones I was looking at for stacks were the Cubs, the White Sox, and the White Sox were mostly. I'm not as enthralled by the lefties that they have, so that's where I'm tepid on Bieber, but I think he's fine. And again, if he had any other name other than Bieber, I'm sure I would be more interested in playing him. And then the Dodgers. Where are the Dodgers coming in on yours? So you're not going to get as many on that one.
Yeah, they did not come up at all. Let's see if I can
fix that. If you give up one of those pitchers, you will, I bet.
Yeah. You want to just try to run a bunch of Dodger stacks? We can see that.
Yes. Let's see what that does.
We'll go remove all Dodgers. 100%. We'll run 5-2-1s, get a good diversity of minis there, and then we'll just do 25. Oops. Oh, that's right. Look at that. So you can get Sale, Chirinos, Bellinger, Turner, Machado, Peterson, Taylor, with Jackie Bradley, LeMahieu, and Tony Walters. Now, I like all that except for Walters. And you can even upgrade that to probably whichever catcher you want if you go from Sale down to Marquez. Wow. This looks pretty nice. Is there any one of these that jumps out to you?
No, and here's the interesting thing. It's funny. I'm kind of second guessing some of what I'm doing after I was doing the cruncher stuff today, just
Mhm.
because I wasn't getting really more than 160 points with any of my lineups. So I've been running a lot of 4-2-2s
Okay.
and more or less forcing some pitchers in. And again, I think yesterday was just because I wasn't getting any of Milwaukee. That's why it looked so disappointing. So yeah, I'm allowing one day sample size to impact me here. But I think Sale. I would go with anything that has Sale this evening. Have you? What are we looking at for? Is Osmo projecting Sale at to be this evening? Speculating that he's going to be on what 70, 80 pitches tonight would
I
be
think
my guess.
I think more than that. Someone said 6 innings with
Okay.
or 100 pitches is what I saw. So I
Oh
mean that's
wow.
close to full go. So they may pull him after six if he's
Well,
at 85, but um, I mean here we can just check the ownership projections quick.
one of the interesting things, and this is the breakdown you get behind the paywall with the premium stuff. Loppy broke down today a bunch of the different games that Sale had. Two of them were actually against Baltimore. One, he had like 12 strikeouts on 68 pitches. So he was just pointing out that, hey, in this particular matchup, perhaps we don't have to be overly concerned. And if he gets up to 80 pitches, that is going to be a potential to get double digit strikeouts. Now, that's probably a 20% outcome, but it's definitely in play there with 80. If he gets up to 85, 90, goodness, that probably moves up to 30% chance there, which is pretty damn good.
The chat's saying 90, so I was a little bit high on my 100 pitches, but six innings or 90 pitches.
Okay.
That is a lot of Ks against this team. I would tend to agree with that. Um, so I'm treating him like he's a full go and he's just underpriced. I mean,
Yep.
it's way too good of a spot for a 2K discount that you're getting. And I think there were some issues with his velocity last time out, but I'm not really still chalk. So love the take on that, but still chalk. So still a decision. Well, what do you mean? I mean, I don't. I mean, you can differentiate with other bats and play Sale still in 50% of your lineups, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. Just because, like, I like Chirinos against the Yankees, so it's going to be pretty easy for me to get to Sale and Marquez and like these top price pitchers. I don't think there's really a need to go to DeGrom. And then someone else asked, are the Red Sox becoming, did they become contrarian? And no, that's not. They're not contrarian. If you saw when I pulled up the ownership projections, they're like five of them are near the top. So it's just they're so cheap, and the run total is still well above five that they're kind of hard to avoid if you're just looking for fillers in a lineup. Like you get Holt batting second, Bradley leading off for under 4K. I don't know. What's your take on the Red Sox, EMAC?
Here's my take and the shock on my face. When did Brandon Phillips last play for them? I remember when they acquired him, but boy, they're dusting off everybody tonight. Sam Travis, he's like the human victory cigar. We only see him for special occasions. Oh wow! And just when you see that JBJ, Holt, Pierce, and Devers are your top four, wow, goodness, this is what I would expect to see when they do a split squad game against the Pawtucket All Stars right before opening season.
Right? Yeah, it's. I mean, those prices are so cheap. You get Yacobonis and then a bad Baltimore bullpen behind him. So, I mean, I'm certainly not fading the Red Sox full fading. I'm going to come in underweight on pretty much everyone because I just don't play guys at 50%. Hitters, pitchers occasionally, but it's just they just make too much sense. So I think the thing that did is maybe take some steam off the Angels because the Angels were kind of who we had projected to be the best value plays all over the board this morning. But now a lot of that's shifting to the Red Sox because they have a higher total.
Now, when you're doing stacks, are you mostly doing 5-2-1s? Is that a baseline, or is that something you play around with from time to time?
What do you mean?
for when you set up your rules in Cruncher for your baseball playing.
Oh, I see. I've been running 5-2-1s for about a month now, um, just because it makes sense, I think. And people run 5-man solos. If I can get the two guys that dong on a team, I think that that's pretty valuable. And I've just had success running 5-2-1s, so I think my projections just lend to that.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, I go 4-3-1 quite a bit. I was running that quite a bit when I started MMEing. Pretty much always at least a 4-man stack. I mean, well, not pretty much always. I've always run at least one 4-man stack. But yeah, 4-3-1, 4-4, or 5-2-1 is really all I do. What about you?
I've been running more 4-2-2s, and I'm not always a huge fan of stacking. The other reason I kind of got into doing it that way was I was on that quest to get the 500,000 strikeouts and 50,000 home runs, which I've succeeded. So now I'm sitting on 1.1 million crowns and DK here. So I want to get my $2,000 worth of equity out of them. Damn it! So I will be playing a bunch of stuff this weekend for football using my crowns. But from that aspect, it helped me keep things a little decentralized. And I don't really like a ton of stacking. So a lot of times when I was doing those sorts of things, I would run it with I would limit the number of teams that I was looking at. So I would say, all right, I'm running a 4-man stack, but it's only with these 5 teams. I'm running a 2-man stack, but it's only with these teams. And then I'm running another 2-man stack, but put in anybody you want. And I would go that route. So to give it a little bit more freedom, but it would sort of define my player pool. So like right now I'm running one where I said, okay, the only teams I'm going to use in my stack for my rules are Boston, Chicago, and the Dodgers. So those are the only guys I'm using for my first stack. And I've set it all at 100% because I just want them to come in. You need to be careful when you start to limit it to teams, because if it doesn't add up to 100% among what you've set the teams, looks like I would need to go like 35, 35, 35. If it's a little over 100, it'll work. If you got a ton of teams in there, you can just set it at 20 or 10 or 15 or whatever you want, and it'll grab everybody. But if you don't have it equaling 100, like if I'm like, oh, I really want to stack this team really quick, and I still have it set on 20% exposure, and I've eliminated every team from that, it'll create one lineup, and then it'll stop. You'll be like, why the hell is this not working? Well, you need to go back and set it to 100, or if you've got 3 teams, make sure they equal 100, etc. So that's something that used to trip me up at the beginning. So by doing it this way, I was able to kind of get a wider spread on what I was doing. But then I would hone in on certain teams. And like I said, I was playing a lot for a lot of those tickets. And in those, so I'm sitting on like $15, $20 Millie Maker tickets. Well, great. Thanks for moving it to 10 this week, guys. But that's all right. We'll get to use them later. But what I would do there is I would say, okay, what are the popular stacks? Don't stack those guys. Put them in the 2-mans. Yeah. And then I would say, all right, people are on this. I'm going to make those 4-man stacks going against some mid-tier pitchers that have picked up some steam. And then when you're playing in those all-or-nothing prize pools, you're surpassing all the people that are just playing the more popular options, which even though they're only 20 or 30%, you're still eliminating all of them if your team does well. And because it's literally a Ricky Bobby. I mean, if you don't get top 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the size of the contest, you don't get anything. So you're like, well, shit, I can't play anything that's like mainstream because I'm just not going to get there. So yeah, I got into building things like that. And now that I've cleared this thing a couple days ago, now I'm coming back out of it saying, well, shoot, there's only a few days left. Do I want to change what I'm doing, et cetera? And that's why I've started mucking around a little bit more with Rewind, because I want to look ahead, because you can go pull results and projections and stuff from last year and test stuff out and play around with it. Or prior game days, like what works best on a 6-game slate. We'll go look and see for hockey what was a 6-game slate, or for NBA what was a 6-game slate, what was a 4-game slate, what seemed to kind of bubble up higher than you would have expected. Was it a game stack? Probably. Well, how do you identify that game stack? Is there some synergy between different players or things like that? You can start playing around with things like that, because we're still about 3 weeks from the start of. So NBA preseason starts on Friday, the 16th of October is when the regular season starts. So we're not that far away from it. NHL, what are we, 10 days away from regular season?
We are 1 week.
1 week, yeah.
1 week from
it's
today.
Flying by. So now is the time to play around with this stuff, in my opinion.
Yep, I would agree. That's kind of what I told Josh on Monday. Is like this is a perfect time to experiment. If you've had a good season, or even if you haven't, experiment. But I'm not really expecting to win a ton. If I do right now, that'd be great. But I'm just trying out some different things. I'm making bigger stands. I'm limiting the stacks that I'm going after right now because it's been a successful season. So I just feel like I have more of a buffer. If I bink, great. If I don't, it's on to a new season in a week. So that's all right too.
Indeed. Now, the one thing I forgot to check is I'm now uploading my crunch and is when they've got these double headers. Sometimes they count the first game and sometimes they count. Yes, it worked.
What
apparently they're counting the second game for this one. So I think the doubleheader started at 3:30 and this game locked at 4, so it's probably grabbing that later one. But I have a whole bunch of Jackie Bradley Jr. in this. So.
Oh, I see.
But now I'm on to my main slate. I had forgotten I'd registered. That's the other thing. When you register the night before for contests, I was in the habit of just jumping in a bunch of stuff and forgot I was doing this show. And then I looked at it this morning and I'm like, how many contests am I going to be in tomorrow?
Oh, boy.
So we shall see. So if you want to have some fun, jump in there. If you haven't yet joined, if you go to, or hit me up in Slack, if you go to look for the groups on DraftKings, you can find the FanDuel group. And every day I've been putting out most every day, put out the Take Emacs dollar. And it's free money, according to Seth. You can ask him in chat. Yep, I'm paying the Rick for everybody there. But we're just doing a $1 contest, and we have it sizable, and it's more for people to send me funny gifts when they beat me. So we'll see. And I am trying. Sadly, I've been doubled up the last 2 nights. I am trying. So full transparency.
Well, they don't call it free money for nothing, right? So
exactly. I'm just giving back to the community.
Yeah, a not to be named competitor site literally has Marquez projected as SP19 on the slate. I mean, I couldn't disagree with that more. So I think he's a top 3 play for me. He right now is my 3rd highest exposed pitcher. And then the next guy, Quintana, is half the exposure that I have to Marquez. So we could probably even run through this right now.
What are you doing with Quintana? I think he is someone that just he's got some intriguing recent game logs, but good God, scroll back into August and July, and he's terrifying.
Oh, I've been noted Quintana hater for basically the entire season. Haven't played this guy at all. He's burned me multiple times. He has not been getting swinging strikes for most of the season. And then now these last 4 or 5 starts, I think we're probably looking at the same thing. The strikeouts have been there. I don't know about run prevention off the top of my head. I can't remember from this morning, but I know he's getting more swinging strikes. I know he's getting more chases. And I like to take guys that I think are at the top of their game. And I think that Quintana may be. And I don't think the top of his game is like as good as like a guy like Stripling, but he is 7,500, and it's a 3.4 implied total against him. Weather is 60 degrees in Wrigley, a little bit of wind blowing out to right, but I just don't think this is a very scary lineup for Pittsburgh as well. No Cervelli in there makes a difference for me. Lefty to start out, you've got Dickerson in there as well, and then the bottom of that lineup plus the pitcher spot. It's a really logical play. And I'm just trying to make more logical plays and dumb it down and not be like, oh, this guy doesn't get swinging strikes, so he cannot be successful. I think I was doing that more in the early part of the season, and I think it makes sense to just, like, if you're MMEing, you should look for reasons to want to play guys more than not wanting to play guys, I think.
What are you doing for your main, the teams that you're looking to stack this evening? I mean, the obvious ones look like they're going to be Colorado, Boston, the Cubbies, and I'm guessing the Dodgers.
Yeah. So I just ran a stack, and I just ran a crunch. I forgot to include Boston. So I will do that and run a new crunch, but it's going to be Colorado, the Cubs. I'll have some Angels, but it's going to be lower with Boston in there. Cleveland rolled out their A lineup, maybe even their A+ lineup. I can't remember if everyone was in there, but at first look, yeah, it was basically everyone. Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, love that. White Sox bullpen, pretty awful. Here, the weather is a bit concerning, but these guys have major speed and power, especially at the top. You've got Donaldson against the lefty for 4,600. I do like the Dodgers. That's going to come as no surprise to anyone that's listened to the show. I just always want to play good teams with stacked lineups at low ownership, even when they're against good pitchers like Greinke. Roof is open there, which I like as well. 97 degrees in Arizona, probably the best hitting environment on the slate outside of Coors. I do have some Milwaukee. I do have some Oakland right now. So where did you end up for stacks?
Let's see. I've got so Colorado, Boston, basically the teams I named, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and I thank you for pointing out to Cleveland. I had not realized in all my haste that they have a really decent lineup. So I've added them in there. Now, what I've done here is just to quickly get this done and get a little bit of differentiation, even though it doesn't really matter for me tonight. I'm just locking in pairs of pitchers or single pitchers, and I'm taking what it's giving me. So I just ran 30 lineups with Chris Sale, and then I locked and ran 20 with Odorizzi and Boyd. Now I'm going to lock and run 20 with Marquez, and then I'll probably put Bieber into my final grouping and just kind of see what I'm getting. So I've set this secondary group to take 4 amongst those teams that I just mentioned, and I've changed it. I'm not running 4-2-2 now. I'm running 4-3 is what I'm doing just to I don't know, screw around and have some fun. And I've said the 3 can be from any team. So it looks like what it's doing from there is it's giving me a lot of Minnesota, which is expected, and a lot of Boston. And that's because those guys are cheap. It's also giving me, 20% of a Boston 4-man. So it looks like I'm running pretty heavy on Boston today. I don't mind that because I've limited also with some of my other teams, and it'll be curious to see, and with my pitching, it'll be curious to see how many people have those similar combinations. And I think things will be diffused enough that I'll be different than anybody that goes for DeGrom. I'll be different for anybody that's going with Boston because I'm looking at another 3-man stack added to that with my 3-man Boston stacks. I'm probably popping in Dodgers, Colorado, Chicago, which will be the more popular ones, but how many people are going to do that with 3-mans, et cetera. So I think I've got a decent mix tonight of what I'm trying to do. Sounds good when I'm saying it. This is the stuff you got to look at as the night unfolds or the next day and say, okay, here were the parameters. Here's where pitching was kind of looking for everybody. Here's what I did. Did it come to fruition? Did I read the tea leaves correctly? Sometimes you will. Other times you'll have a horrible miss. But that's okay. It's all, playing within your means and having fun here. If you're not having fun, you might want to try something else.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that. I couldn't have said it better myself. If you're playing MLB this late into the season with all this uncertainty, it's a lot for fun. I mean, you're still trying to make a profit, of course, but I think we're both, like you just said, you're running 4-3s, you usually run 4-2-2s, and you're just experimenting with stuff and playing, lower volume than you normally would probably. There were a couple questions in chat that I wanted to get to. Kawhi Leonard laugh. I don't know if you had a take on that. Stripling. What do you think of Stripling tonight against the Diamondbacks? I do like Stripling quite a bit. I wanted to get more of him. I got 13%, and I think I'm done crunching. But yeah, I don't know. Where'd you end up on Stripling?
He is not going to be in my player pool because I crossed him out. Main reason I did that was just because I'm trying to run certain groups here. I don't hate him. I was a big fan of his. I was a really big fan of how good he was once he started getting stretched out after he came out of the bullpen this year. At this point, I really don't want anybody in Arizona. And I think because the Dodgers are still trying so hard that, obviously because they need to get into the playoffs, that they'll go to the bullpen more quickly. It's a little bit of game log watching here, but it seems like it's been, pretty much forever since he's actually qualified for a win. And it looks like August 9th he got there, and then prior to that it was in July. So he hasn't gone more than 4 innings in a long time. So that makes me a little nervous as well. But again, with the discounted Boston, with all the discounted Boston, Stripling's like the equivalent of a 6,200 pitcher tonight. So it doesn't really matter his price.
Yeah, I'm trying to take price out of it, kind of. So you see like a cheap
Yep.
Felix. I don't know that there's necessarily a need for that.
No, he's completely X'd out of my player.
So he's not X'd out for me just because I didn't want to get all my exposure in this range. Running 150 to Chirinos. I capped Chirinos at 40 and he basically hit it. He got up to 39 and then like I should cap Felix lower. That's the one thing I maybe should do, but he's at 12 for me. So still under the field, but he does pitch a lot better at home. And I actually like Oakland stacks against him, but I guess I'm playing both sides of that. I got some exposure to Gant in that range, and basically, 3% of Andrew Heaney, which I guess is going to be a hot take. I don't really see it with him. I think it's a fine spot, but as chalk, I would rather go elsewhere, and I am.
How long do we think Tanaka's going to go this evening? I mean, they're still playing for seeding to get that home field advantage, and we like to say the wild card. Good God, it's a one-game play-in. It's not. Getting the wild card doesn't mean you're safe anymore.
I know, that's weird. Kelly, I don't expect him to go deep at all. I think we're having some issues with our stream health here. Is everyone still here with us? Well, I guess you guys will see this in about 8 seconds, but...
I'm sorry. Tanaka was the guy I was curious about.
Oh, Tanaka? Yeah, I didn't end up there. He's usually someone that really pops for me, and I think just because of his recent struggles, I know it was against Boston last start out, but I am concerned about how deep they're going to let him go, and he's the one guy, or one of the guys that you're not really getting a discount on for the slate. So I just didn't really see the need, and Tampa has been awesome against righties. I can't remember if it was with you or Josh a couple of days ago, but we looked up the Tampa versus right-handed pitching over the last month or since August 1st, and they've just been like best in the league, over 200 ISO, 130 WRC plus or so. Like they're getting on base and they're not striking out, so they're not as easy of a matchup as most people would think.
All right,
Emac, do you want to do home run picks? That's what we usually do on the stream.
Oh yes, absolutely. Give me one moment here. I'm gonna be competing against you, getting a double home run night though, so a little bit of pressure, just a hint. All right, I've got mine.
Let's hear.
Nelson Cruz.
Ooh, that's very contrarian. I like it. So it's not Cruz
Do you
against
know
Select.
how old? Yeah, he's going against Jackson tonight. Do you know how old Nelson Cruz is?
36?
38.
38. Man. I knew it was
One
old.
more home run, and if he gets that tonight, he'll have as many home runs as his age. There you go. Narrative. I created it on the spot.
Yeah, there you go. Sometimes you just got to create the narrative. And so we usually don't do Coors, although I think Chris did that one time. Or maybe he took Stanton against the lefty. I don't remember. But, let's see. I didn't really think of this, but someone said in chat that Anthony Rizzo hasn't donged in 20 days. And I think this is the night that or 20 games. I think this is the night he gets Nova. So give me Rizzo to take my 2-game lead against Chris.
I like that.
Or 2 home run lead, I should say.
I like that a lot. All right. If you were going to only play 2 pitchers this evening, which 2 would you lock in for a 5-game or 5-team max?
5 teams?
What do you? 5 entry. Sorry.
Well, I wouldn't lock in pitchers, but if you're making me, it's really close between Herman and Sale, and then I'd probably go Chirinos just because he's just absolutely dirt cheap, and I really like him judging by my exposure. So I would go probably Marquez and Chirinos, and you get 2 pretty low-end guys with, I think, a lot of upside for their prices.
And that was one. Herman Marquez was one of the guys that Adam and I debated from last season all the way into this season, and I shortchanged Marquez a little bit, and I have come full circle. I I mentioned that to Adam in the chat today when he was on his show with Josh, but because Adam and I used to do a couple shows a week together and we haven't. But I was like, hey, I've totally come over on board. He has been a phenomenal pitcher. I mean, gosh, his last start in Arizona was amazing. He had double-digit strikeouts. We've seen him just at home be an outstanding pitcher. And, the Phillies are in trouble. They, made that move to get Justin Bour only to not really play him, even off the bench. And they got Asdrubal Cabrera, and then they've lost like 75% of their games over the last 30 days.
Man, but why would you why get Bour if you're not going to play him?
Where was he going to fit in? He can't play third. They were going to potentially move Santana to third, but that doesn't really help because you got Maikel Franco there, who is a better defender. It was just that was just one of those weird ones. I mean, I get what Milwaukee's doing. They're trying to load up at every position, and they're doing a bunch of switches and defensive purposes and stuff like that. Philly was not set up to do that because Bour and Santana are both kind of they're acceptable major league defenders, but at first base, where are you going to put them? How are you going to get the bat in there? So it just seemed like a waste to get Bour to have him pinch hit, 5 times a week.
I agree.
Seems silly. Let's see here. Going to the chat. I've got everything updated, so I am good to go here. What 5 Milwaukee bats would you stack? I like that question.
All right, let's see here. If I had one lineup and I'm stacking Milwaukee, where'd the oh, there we go. Well, Yelich, of course. If salary's not a thing, even if salary is a thing, I'm jamming him in.
We got to go 2 through 6. I don't see any other way around it.
You could go Kane instead of Braun. I could see that quite a bit.
No, righty. You're right. That Braun's righty numbers have not. Wow, they've been actually
really bad. Yeah.
So 280 righties faced this year, 170 ISO, 310 WOBA. Now with Kane, you're giving up the ISO, but you're getting an extra at bat. I mean, you're giving up the power, but you're getting an extra at bat, and then you hope he gets the run scored because then he's got the next 4 guys you want behind him. So I think you're definitely correct on that choice.
Yeah, I think 1 through 6, you're getting 5 out of those guys. If I was making a single lineup, I wouldn't be messing with Kratz or Orlando Arcia. So yeah, I think we're both on it with the 1 through 6, somewhere in those.
Odorizzi or Newcomb on DK?
Ooh, Odorizzi. What about you?
I'm not playing Newcomb because I X'd him out of my player pool, but that doesn't mean I'm against him. Let's see. The Mets are running out Rosario. So okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Rosario, Austin Jackson, Frazier, and a Mesoraco Matriz. Nobody really scares me there. I think more people are going to be on Odorizzi. Odorizzi gets a little bit of the weather advantage, but he's not facing the pitcher. Newcomb is facing the pitcher, and the LOL Mets. I would go with the Mets. I can't believe they're batting Nimmo 9th.
It's weird, right? Lefty. I mean, he's not good against lefties, but still, like, batting him over Dominic Smith or Mesoraco or Austin Jackson. I mean,
yeah. So here's the thing. So they activated David Wright. Now I'm a huge David Wright fan. He basically really hasn't played in the last 4 or 5 years for a variety of injury reasons. There's 2 separate injuries. The one that's screwed him over for the last 3 years, but then he missed like 1.5 years, came back and was great for a brief shining moment, and then got hurt again. So they activated him. Now why they activated him, I don't know, because there's a good chance that they won't get the insurance to cover the remainder of his contract, which seems weird. 2, they activated him, but then they said because Atlanta's still in it, we're not going to play him because Atlanta's still playing competitive games. How the hell is playing even a decrepit and injured David Wright any different than playing Reyes or Austin Jackson or, well, we'll give Frazier a bit of a nod. Dom Smith is just really not a good player. really? What? Like, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? You guys have been tanking the whole freaking season, and now you're like, ooh, the integrity of the game for the other teams in our division. We don't want Atlanta to have a gimme. Really? Atlanta shows up, they have a gimme against you guys.
So is Atlanta? Aren't they like? Didn't they clinch the division?
Let's see. They have. Maybe they did. This was an article from 2 days ago where I learned this.
I'm pretty sure they clinched.
So, well, there we are. Then why is David Wright still?
I don't know. That's weird.
Atlanta is in the playoffs. However, they do not. They can still improve their series advantages because Chicago and Milwaukee is 2 games ahead of them, and then the Dodgers and the Rockies are 1 to 2 games behind them. So they're still playing for seeding.
Okay, interesting. All right, Makad asks his normal question. Which pitchers are you fully fading? I can just share my screen, and I'm done with crunching, so I can just show you guys kind of where I ended up, and as well as the pitchers that I'm fully fading, and just list them off. If you can't see them on the screen, so let's do this. Let's get this out of here. All right. So I gotta move our windows around here.
Yep, so they're saying Newcomb sucks. Well, if you look at his game logs, yeah, but he also has some good games in there. Yeah, he's a talented pitcher. He's a lefty, and it's the Mets. All right. I think it's close. I mean, hell, I X'd him out of my player pool, so I always hate recommending people that I'm not playing, which is why I was trying to give additional background there. But yeah. Anywho, they wanted crunch from Jake. Here we go.
So here we go. We got Price, Kelly, Chacin, Nova, Boyd, Perdomo, Jackson, Mendez, Stanek, Fry, Pivetta, Yacobonis, and this guy that's not even pitching on this slate, Messinger. So that's where I ended up for pitching. Looking at stacks, I've already got them pulled up for you guys. I gotta make sure you can see this. All right, there we go. Ivan Nova, an easy play here at 6,700. Sean V with one of his vaunted Sean V takes. Hope it works out for you. How do you fade Nova? Because he's awful against lefties. I don't know. You're not on Nova, are you, Ebac?
Gosh, no. I had thought, oh God, I got into this about a month and a half ago with somebody. I thought he was a reverse splits guy. And I looked at his numbers and I'm like, Jesus, why do I not play more lefties against him?
Watch and see.
He's like
Sean V says.
Tehran bad against lefties.
All right, Sean V. We'll see you in chat tomorrow morning. So if Nova gets lit up, you're gonna have to take your L.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be in chat as well, and I will happily take my L. I will happily.
No, I was talking to Sean V. Sean V is always coming with these strong takes. Pablo Reyes, Dongan. Is that for the early slate? I didn't play that garbage. Let's see what we have here. My teams look good. We'll sort by. Don't they always look good after the crunch? It's like you sort by your projected.
Till 707, and you're like, wait, what? Why did I do that?
All right, so this is my top projected lineup. Oh, McCann against Odorizzi. Wow. I don't know if I like that, but I guess that's what we're rolling with. I like the Hap one-off. Hap's too cheap, I think, against the vaunted Nova.
Yeah.
A lot of Red Sox, Rockies. Matt Olson one-off. I like that a lot against Felix, especially if he's going to have ownership. You're getting a pivot already with Chirinos. Yeah, so this is where I ended up. I don't know. Chat, what do you think? What am I missing here? What did you expect me to have more of or less of? Oh, here's pitchers.
I would have figured a couple more Oakland stacks would have made it on yours.
I did too.
Doing that many pardon me, with where you have your caps.
Right. Yeah. So I capped stacks at 20, just kind of across the board. And I just Yeah, the projections liked the Angels better. I used Fantasy Cruncher as like my baseline for this, so you can see I changed some guys around, but yeah, Fantasy Cruncher liked the Angels a lot. They're just a good value. I understand it, but would have liked more Oakland, but can't really change it at this point. 4 minutes until lock, so that's just the life of being an MME player sometimes.
Yeah, it is a little more harrowing, especially if you're trying to play on more than one site. So really, the only nights I ever play on more than one site are the weekends, and then I will do it on Fridays, but I'm not on shows on Fridays. So
yeah,
and then I play Yahoo, and what I've had to do a few different times is I've had to go in and just pick guys that are in a later game, like in the 8 o'clock games, and then just forego, unless it's a pitcher or something, forego the 7 o'clock games if things start to go sideways on me, and then I just play it later from there.
you got 6-10 lock. I don't know. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to blow up the stream. So whatever. We're just gonna go with this. If Oakland is the nuts, I'm going to be kicking myself because I do like them against Felix just for leverage, and I think a lot of those guys have good individual matchups. But here we are, I suppose. Did I end up with any Brewers at all? 9 stacks. I guess I'm comfortable with that. I don't love them tonight like I did last night, but I don't know. I feel like I have a good feel for them for the most part. Any concerns with sales velocity? What about you, Emac? Do you have concerns with Sale? I don't really. He's
no, I think we would have heard. Yeah, we would have heard a lot more tepid news coming out from it. And this was more of an, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was more of he was just tired and bounced on and off the DL. And it was more like, all right, you know what? We're on pace to set an all-time Boston wins record, which they did already with 5 games to go. So I think it was more, you know what? We're playing for the World Series here. Take it easy. There's no need to not do this. So that it felt more like a managing of the workload. And the way they've brought him back, I mean, the first game was like, shit, how far is he going to go? But the last game, he went way longer than I thought he would.
Yeah, I think he went 73, right? Down 2 miles an hour last game.
Yeah, I thought he was only going to go 50 tops, and he blew through that. So tonight, I think 70, 80 is fine. Anytime he starts, he's 1 in 3 chance he's only going to go 80 anyways. So I think he's perfectly fine this evening.
Yeah, I'm not really that concerned, as you can see by my exposures. It's just, I think even a Sale that's 90% of what he usually should mow down this team more often than not. So he's super easy to fit into. You don't necessarily need a 40-point performance. If he gets you 28 or 30, you're sitting perfectly fine with the bats you can fit in.
Yep, and I'm running. It looks, and I have to eyeball it here because I did it in different sections. But I've got about 50 or 60% Sale because I locked him in on 2 different separate crunches. I've got my next high zone is going to be Marquez, and then after that, it's kind of Chirinos, Boyd, Odorizzi, and Haney that are all significant. I don't have any other pitchers outside of Quintana, but outside of those guys, I don't have anybody else. So,
yeah. Any Heaney concerns we are getting asked? I don't have concerns with Heaney as a pitcher. I don't think the matchup is spectacular enough for him to be, what is he, 25% owned? Is that what we had on our ownership? I guess I can check that now. 27. Yeah. So I just don't think he's worth the 27% ownership. I think there are a bunch of viable pivots that I'd much rather go to. So I just think he's...
Yeah, the reason you're not... Sorry to interrupt, Jake.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the reason you're not terrified of him is, he's facing a bunch of righties in his last, 800 batters faced. It's been about 25% righties, 75%, or 75% righties, 25% lefties. He's got a 350 WOBA, 240 ISO to righties, but let's look at the righties. Okay, Profar. All right, well, that makes me a little bit nervous. Profar's a good player. Andrus is not going to do anything other than hit a double. Congrats on Andrus getting a home run tonight, I'm sure, after I've said that. Adrian Beltre is running out the clock. He did one last cycle here, and he's got a couple home runs, but I don't know that he's going to get one tonight. Chirinos scares me when he makes contact. How often does Chirinos make contact? Maybe
Right.
maybe 2 balls in 4 at bats. Okay, well, they could go out, but that's not that scary. And then Falefa and Tashi don't have any power, so it's baseball. Weird shit can happen, but I'm comfortable with him. Your point is very valid with how popular he may be. But that's where I was going, hey, here's my secondary guys. So, Odorizzi and Boyd. Well, like we saw last night with Turnbull and Stewart and Eflin, these guys are all about the same. Come on. What's going to happen? I don't know. I expect them all to get somewhere between 12 and 22 points. Hopefully I have the guys that do that.
Would you consider a Baltimore mini hedge stack? My answer is easy. It's no. What would you say?
Not even close. And I'm someone who does that. Not even close tonight.
I mean, I love playing both sides of stuff that I think can be high leverage situations, but I just don't see the need against Sale. There's just no need for me, even if I'm MMEing.
Because if you're trying to pick the guys, I mean, who do you even pick?
Let's see. Did I even end up with any? I guess I can look at that, right?
Here, someone where you can consider one-offs on the shorter slate, especially if it's an afternoon slate or on the weekends, is Scherzer. If the other team has somebody that's got good power from the left side, there's a decent chance Scherzer's going to give up a home run. He's also going to have 11 strikeouts in that game. But if you get the 1 home run and he goes 7 innings, gives up 2 earned runs and 11 strikeouts, it's like kind of his line last night. He's awesome. You got the home run that nobody had. There's a moment to do it. Against Sale with a team that's just dog shit, yeah. I can't.
How bad is Gomber? I just think he's overrated at this point in his career. He's young. I mean, he's got time. Next year, maybe he's a guy that I play more, but right now, it's pretty easy for me to target against him recently. 27 from Marquez, yeah, I wouldn't pay attention to the projection. I'm just using baselines and altering them in order to get the exposures I want or close to it. So, what else do we got?
Yeah, my projections get all wiggy because I used the FanDuel one. So we give you the 2 different columns. One's the points, and then one's the kind of the tiering points. Well, and then there's a third column that's for hitters. That's the Super Boost. Play this in tournaments only because it really jacks isolated power, and I forget what the other one is, but it gives you all the home run hitting type guys. I muck around with mine, and our hitters are valued anywhere between 25 and 47 usually on any given night. So my projections, hey, I'm going to score 500 with this lineup. No, you're not. So I just don't even look at those numbers anymore unless I'm doing the rewind the next day with the actuals. I worry more about what the little percentage number is next to their names and how many numbers of stacks I'm getting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Someone asked, did I fade the Twins? I guess I faded them as full stacks. Or I have 0 full stacks. I have 12% minis, which is fine. There's definitely value on a couple of those guys like Austin I like, and Astudillo as well, I think is a fine catcher play. Just never strikes out. Never. So. NHL. You still there, Emac?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
NHL lineup.
I thought. All right, we're locked. What's the best site to pull NHL game night lineups from? Is there one that's easy to import?
Ooh, I don't know about any importing ones.
Yeah, I mean, you can find them on pretty much any site. We're possibly going to have some on our site. That's something that we're looking into at the very least. But you can just search NHL starting lineups and find a bunch of different pages. Some are better than others, but I think if we made one, it would be pretty sweet. So we'll look into that.
You can import them on those other sites?
I mean, if it's something we have talked about.
Oh, no. I meant, are there any available where you can just go import now that would come into a file of sorts for people? I think is what the question.
No.
Because if you look at lines, you can go to left wing lock and
daily face off.
Daily face off, yeah.
I mean, you can look at them, but Fantasy Cruncher, if you have that, does update them pretty well. So
yeah,
it'll be accurate for the most part. And you can also change in Fantasy Cruncher. You can self-edit So that's nice. Just not a play for me. Give me all the Airmon tonight. All right. Well, we are locked, so that's probably good for us. Emac and myself are going to go record the night shift for tomorrow morning. Should be a fun time. I think it's a 6-game slate. Is that right? 6?
I believe so. It's an abbreviated one.
Yeah, I guess I can check on that right
Have
now.
to see when those darn afternoon games are. Let's
6-game main, I think.
Yep. So that should be a fun. They're all fun ones at this point. We've got 2 early games, a 1 and a 3, and then 6-game main slate. So, but look at the pitching. Garrett Cole's going to be in our lives. Ariel Gerardo. Yeah, baby.
God.
We're going to talk about some Mariners for sure.
I think there's a good chance we do. So, all right. Any last words for this slate, Emac, and then we'll get out of here.
Knock 'em dead. Come back in and take your victory laps for or against Newcomb in the morning. I'll make sure I'm there to be a piñata if everybody else is.
There we go. Good luck, guys. Hopefully see you at the top of the leaderboards. We will catch you back tomorrow morning, Josh and myself, assuming his internet is back up, or it'll be myself and someone else. Either way, we'll have a show for you, process show, hopefully, from A to B, all that stuff, ownership projections, rankings. We're still closing it out strong in MLB as far as content goes. So good luck, and come join us tomorrow.